very large, a Fortune 500 customer, growing very, very quickly as well. One of the prestigious brands also in terms of stocks that are growing very quickly in the whole ecosystem of fashion and beauty. They are a global company with upwards of 25 different brands, some of which have freestanding stores, some of the other ones are sold through other retailers, like very large retailers like Nordstrom, Macy's, Dillard's. All of these guys sell these products out. And then what they needed was to create an ecosystem that can go reach out to their own freestanding stores as well as to their sales force that actually sits out of other retailers. And then this needed to be global. This needed to be multilingual. At the end of this project, which is slated out for about a couple of years, we'll have upwards of 30 different languages in the system, and the content that will be developed native in those geographies, because in certain cases there are products that are unique to that geography. So there is content that is unique, there is language. Then if you aggregate it up, there are portals and employee experiences that are unique to an industry as well, or unique to a geography, which means that if you are talking about Japan or China, there is far more mobile penetration than say some of the other Southeast Asia countries, or even in India. The mobile data is maybe still way more expensive for people to be able to do mobile trainings with their handhelds while they are commuting. So there are different types of algorithms that we are coming up with for different geographies, and the region-specific strategy, and then a country-specific strategy, and then we are rolling this up all the way to an enterprise learning platform for this prestige beauty brand. At Srijan, we've always been a content management company. And one part of content management in an enterprise has always been pieces around learning management system. So how do you make content pervasive? How do you make content available to people? And how do you make sure that the content is being viewed and being consumed by the users? And this could be content that is video, that is PPTs, PDFs, whatever it may be. That's where the learning management system or an LMS as an industry emerged. And with that industry emerging, it has now quickly moved in front and center into organizations. So last year, studies from Forbes, study from other institutions like that talk about up to 55% of companies now have stated goals around digital marketing or digital learning being part of a major initiative that each company is taking. So we started doing this about a year and a half ago in learning management system, where we started to build for a customer open source multilingual global platform for their field training workforce. What that means is when you look at training today, it is typically confined into a classroom or a seminar or a corporate learning. That's how the LMS world looks at it. But more and more the field workforce is in the field. People are on their mobile. People want to learn on demand rather than trying to sit through an 8-hour class. People want to learn at the place where they can use it. So that could mean that if it's a factory worker, they want to learn in the environment where they'll work. It is very difficult for them to go learn in a siloed environment, in a controlled environment, and then come to a noisy environment of manufacturing and be able to perform at the same level where they learned. So there are solutions that are integrating environmental constraint like AR, VR. How do we train people in the environment that they are in? How do we train the people when they are riding a subway back home? They have free half an hour. Could we give them a 15-minute course very quickly, which leads us into micro-learning? How do we assess their needs better, which leads us into machine learning and adaptive learning? So all of these things are personalization, segmentation. This is where the world of learning is going. And the customer came to us with a very generic sort of demand to say, I have a platform that works today, but isn't engaging for my customers. They are not able to access these things offline. They are not able to do assessments when they want. So they were stated goals around various different activities. And what we started to do for them is re-architect the whole platform from a digital first initiative, where we could build layers of technology that could work seamlessly together, as well as then can be decoupled, if you will, and can work on a mobile device or can work on a Oculus device for a VR experience, can work on Alexa for a verbal or a voice interface as well. So that's what we call digital learning ecosystem, where we are connecting the content, that is where we have been experts around, connecting that content to various digital ecosystems or channels to deliver customer experience and meet customer expectations and engage millennials, newer workforce that is coming into our systems, because based on where they are today, they want newer channels and newer ways to integrate with the digital environment.
Like Ashish mentioned and talked about the learning ecosystem and how one of our clients or one of our brands that we are working with into prestige beauty, they have beauty advisors who are really working round the clock. While they are working, they need to ensure that their learning is on the spot. For that purpose, they wanted to have the system in place. What they expected us to do was create a system which basically allowed them to learn on all sorts of devices. They have their stored computers that they work on, they have their iPads, they have their iPhones. They have to ensure that the learning can be done on all sorts of devices. Apart from that, of course, the learning has to be in a way where it can be consumed in quick sessions. It does not have to be long-winded sessions or long-winded classroom sessions. They can be learned. The courses can be learned on the go while you're traveling back to your home, or going to your office, in your subways and trams. You should be able to learn. So the learning also has to happen on the go. On the other hand, we also needed to ensure that the system would work offline, because at some point of some cases the signal reception could be bad, or it might not be there, the data connectivity might not be there. So the system should be able to handle offline learning also. And then of course we wanted to have the system as a scalable kind of a system where when we are looking at a lot of content across the whole global market, we are able to distribute our content. We are able to distribute our learning. So the system was supposed to be made scalable, for which we decided to go with a decoupled approach, where the backend would be all Drupal and the front end would be a React front end. All the rendering would happen there. That's in general what the system encompassed. They would apart from the normal online learning that you would do, like Ashish mentioned, we also incorporated AR, VR, and elements of chatbot there. Where if you had to learn, you might instead of going the courses way, you might want to ask questions to a chatbot about a particular product that you are selling, and the chatbot would be able to give you that content or that information immediately. You don't have to traverse the site. So that those were the really elements that we wanted to incorporate in the digital learning ecosystem. We have made good progress, but something that we target as part of 2019 showdown. We want to ensure that all these elements are in place.
This was basically a very the brand. It's a large. It's one of the premium prestige beauty brands, right? Whose presence is global. Right? So they were very requirements intensive, and as Shashank has mentioned, They wanted to leverage technology extensively. So we had multiple components in terms of AR, VR. We had AI-based learning. We have chatbots. So in terms of requirement gathering, we were looking. So the requirements also spanned so many different technologies, right? We followed a requirements gathering process with them, where we started off with discovery, basically a discovery process where we give them a handbook which gives them it's like an outline of all the features. After an initial kickoff discussion, we give them a handbook. They fill it in. This handbook, basically we call it the discovery workbook. This basically outlines every feature, drills down into every feature and how it's going to function, how they visualize its integration within within the platform that they are building. And then we do multiple iterations. So we give the discovery workbook to them, they fill it in, and then we sit again with them. We sort of help them sometimes fill out the answers also, wherein they have questions. And then we sort of thrash down in every small features in consecutive sessions. The discovery workbook sort of becomes then like a handbook for the development teams also. And since we also have a multi-vendor setup in this particular, when you're working with this particular brand, so then the discovery workbook becomes like the single source of truth, right? Where all the features have been captured in the minutest details, and the development teams can always refer back to it. The design teams can refer back to it. And at every sprint, since we follow an agile based development model, we do development in sprints. So at the beginning of every sprint, we refer back, we sit down again with the features that we're going to pick up in that sprint, sit with the discovery workbook and look at all the features captured for that sprint, and look at how each feature is going to function. And then if we have questions at that point, we do follow-up sessions with the brand. Before the sprint kicks off, we put those questions to the brand, get their answers. So at every sprint, the brand always knows what they're getting, and they are aware of what's happening also in terms of development. So they're always highly engaged, and they're a part of the development rather than being somebody who looks at the product once it's made, once the whole platform is made. So the requirements, this is how we gather the requirements via the discovery process, and that's how we sort of deliver the end product to them. This, as we just discussed, it's a huge brand, right? So it's one of the largest brands, and when we're working with such big brands, multi-vendor setup is more like a norm rather than an exception, right? So for us, the process was more, it's highly integrated, right? The teams work together because the dev teams are distributed, right? Some part is from their part of team, and some of it is ours. So we basically collaborate with them on a daily basis. And Agile model is perfect for this, because we have daily Scrum meetings, daily stand-ups, where we are syncing up on what is the status is on a daily basis, right? And also at the beginning of every sprint, the sprint plannings are done together. We follow a single Scrum board. We use Jira. We use a single Scrum board on Jira, where they put in their stories, we put in our stories. We all sit together, collaborate, do the sprint planning, and then get into the sprint. And at the end of the sprint, also to the brand, also we give a consolidated demo. It's not like it's one vendor giving the demo and the other vendor. It's one single picture that we present to the brand at the end of it. So that's basically how we're working with them.
We started this 2-year journey of digital transformation of the digital learning platform, if you will, that involved a lot of different pieces of technologies. One of the prime technologies that we're using as a foundation is a new learning standard called xAPI or Tin Can API or Experience API. What that is enabling users to do is being able to design and develop content that is consumed far better, and be able to then write analytics around how the content is being consumed as well by their general employee base or the people who are using the learning content. The older standard around that was Chrome, where you would package all of the content and you would hope and pray that people are using this content. There was very, very little that you could know about how the content is being used, how people are interacting with the content, because think of Scrum as a zip file, if you will, that had video, assessment, everything packaged together, and you flow from one chapter to the other in sequence. Whereas what xAPI does is now being able to capture a lot more of user engagement. Who did what when? How long people watched the video? When did they jump in of the video? Did they watch the video? Did the mouse move when they were watching the video? Kind of tells you if the end customer is engaged with your content, or are they just letting the video run and they're coming back for the assessment. How long did they take on the assessment? How long did they take on each question? Each of these things can be now tracked, so that then you can design the content better. So xAPI is an integration where now you can also take these assessments and put them on native mobile applications. As Srijan will talk about things that we've done in our mobile application development pieces, how we've been able to take these things offline. So now you can take assessments offline, you can track the assessments offline, and then be able to sync it up, what is called a LRS, a learning record store, which is now an equivalent of a data lake, if you will, A data lake is a common concept in any enterprise today where they have all of these financial supply chain data. So all of the learner related data, employee engagement data is now starting to live in LRS, which is all what I said earlier, the data associated with verb on who did what when, how long, with what content, what is your most used content. And xAPI, we believe, is a game changer for digital learning. And we've leveraged that as a foundation or a thread that has woven across various different systems that we've developed as part of this digital learning solution.
While xAPI is the base for everything, while we know that a lot of learning analytics would come from xAPI, how the interactions would happen on the system, we also wanted to make sure that the system is scalable enough. We wanted to make sure that because the system is going to be accessed 24 hours on a global level across different markets, the system has to be absolutely scalable and performing very well at optimum levels at all the points of time. We To make sure that we did that, we opted for a decoupled architecture where the backend was all Drupal. All the content is being stored and saved at Drupal. We also have other systems in place like Lumen and Elastic to make sure that a lot of user activity is captured on Lumen. Apart from that, the front end is being then rendered on React. The content that is being exposed via APIs. These are REST APIs. We have a middleware in between which allows for the conversion of REST APIs to GraphQL, and then the content or the information is rendered over React. Because we have a middleware in place, we have a caching system which allows to make sure that all the static content is cached and then thrown out, so that the server is not hit multiple times or multiple times unnecessary rather. And we are able to render content as quickly as possible. This makes the system snappier and also allows for the learners to have a very easy, pleasing to the eyes kind of an experience. That's what we wanted to do in terms of a technological choice or as part of our architecture. Uh, while we talked about the architecture itself, but on the customer facing front, we also wanted to introduce more technological advancements, the cutting edge technology that can offer learners an immersive experience. So apart from just allowing them to look at the website or portal or even on their mobile phones, we gave them actually apps where they could go ahead and have the same experience on an app itself. These apps are both Android and iOS. You can go ahead and download that app and then learn on your own pace. Apart from that, you are also given a chatbot in that app also, where as a learner, as a beauty advisor for a prestige beauty brand like we are working with, they could always go ahead and have an immersive experience on the product itself. I could ask questions around products, and the chatbot would be able to give me answers on that. Things like what are the allergies with this fragrance, what are the ingredients of this fragrance, how do you really use this mascara or lipstick, are the kind of questions that you can ask, and the chatbot would be able to satisfactorily answer your question or provide you with videos in case of demonstration, so that you don't have to sift through the whole content. You can look at the chatbot or ask the chatbot and you'll get the answer. The other advancements, of course, are around AR and VR. We are giving them a even better immersive experience. You don't have to even actually go ahead and ask questions around the product. If you find a product, and this is something that we also want to extend to the customers, where if they find the product, they can scan the barcode using the app, and once they scan it, they can get information about the product on their phones and screens. And you don't have to really interact with people. It works with the introverts really, but but that is something that we have also included as part of the experience of the learners and video learners.
So this is like almost visualizing it to be a 2 year long journey with them. We're midway through. We've brought them from a system where they were using PDFs and manuals, handbooks, product knowledge books, to a place where they have actually converted all of it into digital formats loaded them, which is dynamically available via app, via a web platform to their learners who are spread globally. And the path forward, we're actually also bringing in the cutting edge technologies like AR, VR, chatbots, AI based learning, integrating it with Alexa, like Ashish was talking about earlier, leveraging every upcoming technology which can be applied to an LMS for the brand here. So that's where we are, and that's what we've achieved so far for them.